Hello and welcome to the Battle with Omega. This is Run 3 of the Final Fantasy FF5FJF2020. We actually got a preemptive attack there. Cool, thank you, Omega. That's very nice. That gives me actually another round or so to prepare my defenses. So let's go over what I'm doing here before we get into kind of the long grindy mode. I have everybody with Hermes sandals on, except the chemist who has the reflect ring. The first thing we're going to be putting on are our protections. So we've got resist fire that I'm putting on. I'm having Ferris herself drink a speed drink. We also need to put on things like Dragon Kiss, which gives us heavy status to protect from circle. We need to put on Dragon Armor, which puts us into shell status. Interestingly, we can't cast shell onto Ferris because she has the reflect ring on. So I believe that was resist fire. The first one may have been dragon armor or dragon power. So now Ferris is drinking a giant drink. So a giant drink doubles her hit point total. That's going to be important for one move of Omega's only, and that is Mustard Bomb. It's going to make Surge Beam worse, but it's going to make Mustard Bomb survivable. So she has now 2,120 hit points. So we saw after a atomic ray there, everybody's on the floor. Ferris is now by herself. Ferris does have the chicken knife in just for the speed bonus. Thinking back on this one, you could get a little bit more speed action if you had made the hunter. So if Ferris was, rather than being a chemist, if she was a hunter, the ranger, she could have had a little more speed, which could have helped on a few different things. She could have also had access to, well, she wouldn't have had access to X-Fight if she also had Mix. That's the tricky part. Because both Haste and the Giant Drink are all things that she could have put on by herself with Mix. So maybe a slight mismanagement there, but then again, she would have less magic power, so she'd have fewer magic multipliers to do damage with the Drain Kiss, as you see, will be our primary damage dealer for Omega. So right now, she is in kind of a buffing and survival mode. The conservative way to play this battle is to wait until you see targeting like that from Omega. So targeting will reflect off of Ferris, and then Omega will be targeting itself. So the next actions that it takes are going to go after itself rather than the character. We've sped the battle up now, and I'm putting more of that awesome FF5 music from OC Remix in here, because you're going to see us get into kind of a holding pattern here. We are going to be doing a combination of buffing our level with dragon powers. Boost, 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 boost. We've done one or two split shells on Omega. Later on, we're actually going to do some more to increase our damage a little bit. But all of these big boosting things you can do against Omega, they all have diminishing returns once you get up near the top of them. Sadly, Omega has the always shell and wall, and yeah, that's it. So wall, shell, and stop. And interestingly, stop is in the always part, but stop, according to the algorithm's guide, is the only one of those that will fade away. They can't be dispelled, so wall and shell can't be dispelled away from Omega. It's unfortunate, but it's just one of the things that makes it so good. So we're seeing Omega now, when it's targeting itself, it's doing all of the counterattacks to itself. So here's the thing with Ferris. The only things that can hurt her are two things: Surge Beam and Mustard Bomb. Those are the two things that can hurt Ferris. Delta attack will be reflected all the time. Circle can't hit her. The Rainbow Wind just puts her into mute or blind status. Just puts a status effect on her, so it does nothing. So the only thing that hurts her are Surge Beams. The Flamethrower won't hurt her because she has resist fire on, so she'll actually be healed by that. Atomic Ray, sadly, will be reflected back to Omega and will actually heal Omega. So some of the damage that we do to Omega is going to be undone by Omega itself. Mustard Bomb normally does about 3,000 damage. Because we have Shell on, it does 1,500. So the 3,000 would be not survivable even with the Giant Drink. But Shell chops that in half down to 1,500. So the risk in ending this battle, in losing this battle, is, of course, taking a Mustard Bomb and then a Surge Beam. So the conservative way to play this, as I said before, is to wait until Omega is targeting itself and then always just use your attacks then. Now, Omega does have a chance in its responses to use, sadly, some of the some of the stuff that will heal it. So the atomic rays and all that. So those can bop up. So its AI script goes this: atomic ray, delta attack, or blaster on the first one, then a surge beam, then rainbow wind, emission, which is the flamethrower or atomic ray, then surge beam, and then 2 things in a row: delta attack, blaster, surge beam, or maelstrom, quake, rainbow wind, the earthquake, earth shaker. I should say that's why I'm floating, because of the earth shaker there. And then targeting comes up, and then we have rainbow wind, emission, atomic ray, and then a surge beam. So rocket punch is another one that's in the responses, in the reactions that it can do, the counters. So rocket punch, mustard bomb, circle, those are all in there. So it's mostly going to be those. Circle removes a character from battle entirely, kind of like the tentacle attack from Ruby weapon, I think it is, in Final Fantasy VII, that or the quicksand one. So there's the targeting. Back to the battle here. And so all of its attacks will be on itself. Obviously, it's nice to have Mustard Bomb go on itself. And so there you saw Emission. Emission is not a counter. Emission is a regular attack, but it was still targeting itself. It was still targeting itself for that emission. Targeting had not yet expired. So the big thing is you want to make sure that you don't take a Mustard Bomb and a Surge Beam before you can get an action to heal yourself. So the conservative way is to wait till he's targeting, but if you are draining, you can wait until it does a Surge Beam, heal yourself with a Drain, with the Drain Kiss, okay? And then if he uses Mustard Bomb, you will have full health because you've just drained yourself back to full. And then its next action is going to be something that can't hurt you. So it's going to be the Rainbow Wind or Emission or Atomic Ray or one of those things that will either reflect or do nothing to you. So that is one thing that that kind of helped me with that when I saw that, okay, after Surge Beam, there's always something else. There's a round of something else. One of them is a no interrupt with 2 actions back to back, but all of those things are reflectable or they're quake that I can dodge. So once I figured that out and saw that and felt confident that I was boosted enough, I wait till Surge Beam, I heal, and then that's it. So here's another hero drink just kind of in the meantime because I'm waiting for Surge Beam because if he did something else, if Omega did, like Delta Attack right there, and then I use Drain Kiss, I might get a Mustard Bomb and then a Surge Beam before I can get an action to heal myself up. And actually, after a Mustard Bomb, I need to actually heal myself up because if I take a Mustard Bomb and then heal myself up, I could get a Mustard Bomb again and then a Surge Beam because he will Omega so fast he would get there. So I did actually, in a trial run, I saw that happen just to see about my setup. So there we go. So that's where I am now. I'm waiting until we get a Surge Beam and then we do a heal. Now, sadly, some of the times when he's targeting, so there was a Mustard Bomb right there, that 1500, and I'm using an elixir here to get myself back up to full. Because if that had been a Surge Beam instead of a Delta Attack, that would have been game over. But actually, that was the no interrupt. It was a Delta Attack followed by a Rainbow Wind back and forth. And then we get to targeting. So here I'm playing around a little bit, having some fun. Using a Shadow Flare because he did targeting on himself. So looks like we had a hiccup and I lost some of the, I lost his counters on himself. So eventually I'm going to start to get in trouble with my turtle shells because of things like that, because of Atomic Ray reflecting off of me. Anytime he does the Atomic Ray, it's always going to come back and heal him for almost as much damage as I can do. You can see it's doing about 1700 there. And I believe I am about as leveled up as I can be for this one to get through what he's doing. So my only way to boost damage now, I believe, in a little bit, I do a couple of more split shells. Those just chop his magic defense in half, and his magic defense is 150 when you start the battle, 150. So really, even just to damage him with magic. There was an Atomic Ray reflected onto me, which is good. Magic defense, 150. So the first split shell you do, that goes to 75, and then to 32.5 and whatever else you're looking at. I guess not 32.5. So it just chops down and down and down and down by a half. It gets cut down. And so your attack does a little bit more. Remember, the more multipliers you have, the more you boost it when you have that, because the defense is subtracted before it's multiplied. So you can kind of amplify your work there a little bit. So there was, I took a mustard bomb, and I had to use the elixir. So that's the old conservative way. If you can do bigger damage, it's a little bit nicer to go the conservative way. So if I had a black mage and I could cast like a bolt 3 on him, and I only needed to do like 7 or 8 attacks to him, that's a lot different story. You can play it more conservatively. But if I was doing this with this fight, especially with things like Atomic Ray, healing it back all the time, I only have, 20 turtle shells left. Here is a turtle shell antidote. That's another split shell where I wanted to see how much more damage I could do. So you might get outpaced by Atomic Ray healing, or very nearly so. And especially when I have a limited supply of shells because I didn't grind up to 99. This party, it's not easy to super grind up. Now, one little thing that could ruin my run is if Omega does a Delta attack on me. There was a Mustard Bomb on himself. And then he responds to the damage on his own reflected Delta attack with a Mustard Bomb and then a Surge Beam. This battle could have ended. So there's a series of circumstances that could have happened that could have got me in trouble. So if I had not been careful on my healing, I could have reflected Delta attack that leads to a Mustard Bomb, and if my ATB isn't right, then I could take a Surge Beam after the Delta attack. Sadly, there's an Atomic Ray healing him up. So there's a drain from Surge Beam, and I'm into the rhythm of the battle now, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to see how long my turtle shells will last. That's why I did that one more split shell, and I'm using the Dark Matters. Whenever he does a targeting on himself, I'm using a Dark Matter instead, because I know that I won't need to heal myself up, because I won't have taken damage from the Surge Beam, and the targeting, I know I'm safe. So that's when I'm choosing to use the Dark Flare or the Shadow Flare. Otherwise, I need to, when I do damage to him, I need to heal myself at the same time. So it's actually a very efficient way to fight this battle, because the Surge Beam hits you for 1060, and then you can immediately do the damage and the drain to get yourself back up. So there's targeting again, but I'm out of Dark Matters. I've done all my Shadow Flares. So now the result of this battle really comes down to, and that was sad, there was an emission that was still targeted on himself. And you can see I've gone back to regular time here because I have one of my lower turtle shells. There is a Mustard Bomb. I need to get off an elixir before the next Surge Beam comes. So I am waiting to use an elixir. He casts Delta attack. Normally I would be using the elixir, but that last 364 is enough to bring him down. So Omega had just a few hit points left, and in the Mustard Bomb, I had to use that elixir. I was running low on turtle shells because I had about 18 left, I think. I was so surprised that I won Omega on that 100 AP. So obviously I'm not going to, I burned up all of my mixing supplies. There's the Omega medal. So I just go back to my save point. But there is Omega, one of my favorite Omega takeouts of all time, right here on Run 3 of the Fiesta 2020.